Good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all back here. I think good progress was made. So, first of all, I would like to go to the reporting back of the different groups. First of all, I would like to give the floor to the contact group on replenishment. Belgium, please.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. So I'm very pleased to report to you that we could finalize our task in time, 1 minute before the deadline. So that was quite an achievement. And we have so decided to have 27 paragraphs in the decision, in the proposal of composition of the supplemental report that we will request the RTF to provide us for the MOP, for the discussion on the replenishment. The document is structured in several sections, one covering overall suggestion and methodological approach. Then we have specific consideration to take into account the decision taken at the last EXCOM 92, and covering, of course, the specific cost that have been decided at that time. Then we have a section dedicated to HCFCs, followed by a non-surprising HFC section, continuing to energy efficiency, and closing, quite obviously, the list with the end of life. So I think with that work, the RTF will be able to deliver us all the information we need to take the proper decision for the replenishment that will occur in Nairobi in a few months now. And I would take also this opportunity for you to give me the floor to thank the Secretariat that has really helped us during the preparation of this document. Also thank my co-chair, who was for the first time, I think, if I remember correctly, taking this kind of tasks. And also for all the audience and the RTF that were really very helpful in their constructive approach for making us deliver this document. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you, and indeed very good, and congratulations that you could complete the task just 1 minute before, and I would like to thank you both for your good work. And indeed your list ends with end of life, but the good thing is that the whole list in the end will give new life, and it will give new life to a supplementary report to be produced by the RTF. So, and the list that you produced will be attached to the report of the meeting, and the RTF will use that for producing the supplementary report. And I would like to close this agenda item then for now. And I would like to go to give the floor to, hand over to my co-chair. No, I will do it. Sorry. It's like a ballet. Sometimes something goes wrong, but now we continue. On the contact group on the proposed adjustment, I would like to hear what's the outcome of that group from Argentina or Australia. Please, who will report back? Also there is a ballet who is taking the floor now. So the ballet decided it's Australia. Pat, please.
If only Armenia wasn't here, we could have sat together and I did it one word alternating. Okay, I'm not going to take up too much of the plenary's time. First of all, thank you for asking for the report back. The contact group met again today for approximately 1 hour, and the discussions continued quite well, quite fruitfully, but we will still have quite a lot of work to do once we get to the MOP. There was an exchange of information, and at the towards the close of the contact group meeting, there was, I guess, an alternative concrete proposal made by one delegation, but there was not sufficient time to discuss or even tease that out, but it gives members of the contact group a little bit to think about over the next few months before we get to the meeting of parties. So I'd like to, well, we would like to thank all the participants in the contact group. I think we've made a lot of progress in identifying the issues and narrowing down the range of things that we need to talk about. So once we get to Nairobi, we will be much better placed to come to a conclusion on what really is a very important matter for this body. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Yes, I would like to thank you both for all the good work in the contact group, and even also the creative work by providing spreadsheets, and the proposal contained in document 45/7 will be forwarded to the MOP, and this item will be also come back at the MOP. So thank you for that, and I would like to propose to close this agenda item. Then we go to the contact group on HFC 23, and I would like to ask, I think Barbados, Chantal is already preparing herself to take the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, and good night, everyone. So the contact group concluded its second session this afternoon, and I am pleased to report that we made good progress. We were able to complete an initial review of the 6 operative paragraphs. So the updated CRP will be forwarded to the MOP for further discussions. I just wish to thank all delegates for their flexibility and hard work done to progress and advance the paper. And I would like to thank my co-chair, Ms. Heidi Stockhouse, as well as the Secretariat and the delegates for their kind cooperation and the opportunity to be co-chairs for the first time. So thank you, everyone, on both Heidi and myself on behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to thank you for the good work you did in the contact group, and I think you enjoyed it as well to do that for the first time. So you both enjoyed it, and also Heidi from Germany, I would like to thank you for that. So there is a CRP Rev 1, and that can be forwarded to the MOP. And I would like to close this agenda item. Then on the informal group on VSLS, I'm not sure who would like to take the floor from the informal group or the co-conveners of the informal group. I see Czech Republic, Jana, please.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. The informal group on very short-lived substances met for 1 hour today to discuss this issue. Notably, the informal group addressed the issue of the very very short-lived substances rather than the text of the CRP. It has been a lively discussion between the participating parties, focused on the rationale of the issue, historical background, and progressively increasing amounts of TCM. Several questions raised by parties were addressed by SAP. Regrettably, allocated time wasn't sufficient, and certain parties expressed their need of having more information as some questions remained open. They have the option to continue discussions intersessionally. With this, I would like to thank the participants, my co-facilitator, and also the Secretariat for their work done. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your good work in getting the group forward, and indeed CRP4 can be forwarded to the MOP, and I would like to close this agenda item. Thank you both for your good work, Liana and Jana. Then I would like to go to the informal group on gaps in monitoring. And I would like to see who would like to take the floor. Yes, I see Micronesia.
Thank you, Co-Chair. The informal contact group on identification of gaps in the global coverage of atmospheric monitoring of controlled substances and options for enhancing such monitoring met late this morning for an hour. The parties had a constructive exchange of views on the topic. Discussions varied widely, but there were good reflections and a cooperative spirit around this exchange. There's a clear willingness to work continue their work on this topic. Parties briefly discussed a project underway in Bangladesh and indicated an interest in asking the Secretariat to report on outcomes of that project to the parties next year when the project will be finalized. Additionally, there was a very good discussion about the need to identify and address these gaps. Parties indicated that further discussion will be helpful to continue to exchange their ideas on what needs to be done, how to do so, financial means, and other considerations around this topic. At the conclusion of our time, parties indicated their interest in continuing the conversation at the upcoming 35th meeting of the parties. They further indicated that they would continue consulting during the coming months, and that some may develop a CRP prior to the MOP for consideration at the meeting of the parties. My co-chair, Sandrine from Norway, and I would like to thank the parties, the co-chairs and the Secretariat for their cooperation and for trusting us with this issue, and we wish everyone safe travels home.
Thank you both for the good work in this informal group on the gaps in monitoring. I would like to thank you, Norway, Sandrine, and Micronesia, Anna Maria. And this item, as we heard, there could be a CRP coming forward, and parties are interested to work on that. So I think it's a good idea if this item also comes forward at the MOP. And I would like to close this agenda item. Then, after all the reports back, we have some unfinished business we would like to finalize at this last plenary meeting. I would like to start with, let's say, the quadrennial assessment. Unfortunately, there was no time to have an additional contact group, so it means that quite some work has to be done at the MOP. I also would like to thank again Leslie and Cindy, Leslie from Grenada and Cindy from the USA for all their good work. What I also would like to say that under 3D, there was also the item on information on alternatives to HFCs and the reporting and the synchronization of reporting. The idea is that that will be taken up in combination at the MOP. So I would like to close the agenda item on the quad and as well on the alternatives to HFC. So this can be part of the discussion at the MOP. Then I would like to go to 3F, future availability of halons and their alternatives. As I understood, there were informal consultations in the margins, and this issue also could be taken up at the MOP, and will be taken up at the MOP, and the agenda item is closed. Then under 3G, any other business? Destruction technologies, where there was a CRP2, REV1 is available. There were informal consultations in the margins, and also that can be will be forwarded to the MOP for further consideration. And I would like to propose to close this agenda item. Then life cycle refrigerant management. There also were informal consultations in the margins, and also this issue can be taken up at the MOP. Then agenda item 8D. The challenges and options for the future configuration and function of the Technical Options Committee. There also were informal discussions in the margins, as we heard, and also this will be taken up at the MOP. And I also would like to close this agenda item. And finally, stocks of methyl bromide. Also this issue will be taken up at the MOP again, and I would like to close this agenda item. With this, we closed all the agenda items, and now I would like to hand over to Vidame for the adoption of the report of the meeting.
Thank you, Ralph. Close to the end of the meeting. We will now move to the adoption of the report. The report we are just about to adopt is contained in document unip/ozl.pro.wg.1/45/L.1 and unip/ozl.pro.wg.1/45/L1/addendum 1. Both documents have been posted on the meeting portal. Document L1 is available in all languages, while document L1 Addendum 1, which covers discussion on Wednesday, 5 July, is only available in English, as the limited time available to prepare and edit the document did not make translation into the other official languages of the United Nations possible. You will note that some sessions are yet to be completed. This is in conformity with our practice to adopt reports of proceeding based on the understanding that the co-chairs, with the assistance of the Secretariat, will be authorized to complete these report after the session, including the sections that are already reflected in the draft report. I'm submitting it, including the sections that are already reflected in the draft report. For adoption on the understanding that today's proceeding and approved changes will be incorporated in the final report. We will go through the report by agenda items and taking a group of paragraphs for adoption together on each items. To save time, I suggest that any participant with minor editorial comment can bring those straight to the Secretariat here at the podium immediately after we finish adopting the report without necessarily thinking to make an intervention from the floor. However, if there are specific and effective corrections in any paragraph of the report, then please first request the floor to read out those corrections and thereafter providing the text to the Secretariat for proper reflection in the final report of the meeting. We will first take up document L1 and thereafter turn to document L1-1. Now I turn to document L1, section 1, opening of the meeting. Are there any comments on paragraphs 1 to 8? European Union, please.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. I was coming back to the previous point. You indicated that the agenda point stocks of metal bromide would be transferred to the next meeting. We're totally in your hands, but I thought we had actually concluded to close that point. We even welcomed the fact that some parties would still send information. And then we would consider later how to use that data and maybe at a later point in time re-engage on this topic. But I don't think we had concluded that we would forward it. But again, we're completely in your hands, but just to add this element. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Yes, indeed, you're right. That's what was also the conclusion. So it was a mistake indeed from my side. So this will not. The idea is not that it will be taken up at the next MOP. That's so. I don't see any reactions. So that's on agenda item 9. And now we will go back to the adoption of the report of the meeting.
Yeah, are there any other comments related to paragraph 1 to 8? Armenia, please.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, but actually my intervention is on a similar note regarding the informal group discussion on very short-lived substances. Excuse my ignorance on the matter, sir, but the decision was there to continue discussions on the subject matter, but there was no specific mentioning of the CRP. And I don't know whether this has to be formulated like CRP shall be forwarded to MOP, or whether it's just that the discussions are to remain open of the subject matter. Thank you.
Indeed, you had informal discussions. So there were informal discussions and they are concluded. But there's also there's also a CRP, which was not part of the discussions in the informal group, but this CRP is there, and that will be forwarded to the MOP. Hope I'm clear.
We thank the honorable delegate from Armenia. Any other comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Section 2, organizational matter. Subsection A, attendance. Paragraphs 9 to 11 are to be completed. Subsection B, adoption of agenda. Before I invite the working group to adopt the paragraph under this subsection, I would like to inform parties that an edit that the co-chair will make the modification to paragraph 14. Paragraph 14 as edited will read as follows. At the time of adoption of the agenda, several representatives made statements. Full stop. A summary of those statements is set out in annex to the present report. Full stop. I'm reading it one more time. At the time of adoption of the agenda, several representatives made statements. A summary of those statements is set out in annex to the present report. Are there any comment on paragraph 12 to 14 in the annex? If there are none, then they are adopted. C, organization of work. Paragraphs 15 to 16. Any comment? If none, then they are approved. Section 3, the 2022 quadrennial assessment of the Montreal Protocol. Subsection A, paragraph 17 to 58. Any comment? Argentina, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. This delegation observes that under this item, the intervention made was not included. We will send the statement in writing to the Secretariat so that it is included in the final report. Thank you.
It's noted. This is supposed to come to the Secretariat. It's noted. Thank you very much. Any other comment? China.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. In paragraph 46, we have a small question. The present report says 100 centigrade. We said 90 degrees centigrade. Thank you. Could you change the temperature for the heat pump from 100 degrees centigrade to 90, please? Thank you.
We note the change. It will be reflected in the report. Any other comment, please? If none, so they are approved. Subsection B, information on the consumption and production of hydrofluorocarbon, not listed in Annex F. Paragraph 59 to 62. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Subsection C, information on the availability of hydrofluorocarbons. Paragraph 63 to 67. Any comment? If there are none, they are approved. Subsection D, update of the report of the working group of the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel on information on alternative to hydrofluorocarbons. Paragraph 68 to 76. Paragraph 68 to 76. Any comment?
¿Cómo la prendo? Okay.
Colombia, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. In paragraph 73, we would like to have our statement be in the last part relating to the small and medium enterprises. We will send the wording to the Secretariat for it to be included. Thank you so much.
Thank you to forward the text to the Secretary. Any other comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 77 is to be completed. Subsection E, potential areas of focus for the 2026 quadrennial assessment. Paragraphs 78 to 86. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 87 is to be completed. Subsection F, future availability of halon and their alternatives. Paragraphs 88 to 93. Any comments? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 94 is to be completed. Subsection G, any other issues? Item 1, emissions of HFC 23. Paragraphs 95 to 100. Any comments? If there are none, then they are approved. It's noted that additional paragraph will be added to the end of G1 to capture the work done after the establishment of the contact group. We move to item 2, very short live substances. There is a request on. Please, Barbados.
Yes, sorry, Mr. Co-Chair, just to point that in paragraph 100, the spelling of my surname is incorrect.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for that. We move to item 2, very short-lived substances. Paragraphs 101 to 104. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 105 is to be completed. Item 3, destruction technologies for controlled substances. Paragraph 106 to 109. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 110 is to be completed. Item 4, feedstock. Paragraph 111 to 114. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 115 is to be completed. Item 5, life cycle refrigerant management. Paragraph 116 to 119. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 120 is to be completed. Section 4. Report of the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel on the replenishment of the multilateral fund for the implementation of the Montreal Protocol for the period 2024-2026. Paragraph 121 to 141. Any comment? If none, then they are approved. Paragraph 142 is to be completed. Section 5, strengthening Montreal Protocol institutions, including for combating illegal trade. Subsection A and B are merged. Paragraphs 143 to 152. Any comment? Chile, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Trying to understand what you said. Did you just outline that subsections A and B are going to be merged? As far as we know, under subsection A, at least, there were 6 interventions, but we didn't see ours reflected. If you prefer, we can also send our intervention verbatim to the address provided by the Secretariat. We are in your hands.
Thank you. The test will be welcome forwarded. Chile, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. And to our first question, did we understand correctly that you said that A and B were going to be merged into one single subsection of the report? Is that correct?
The discussions are combined in the test, but not the items. Not the items. Shelley, any comment?
You for the information.
We move to paragraph 153, that's supposed to be completed. Section 6, energy efficiency and low or zero global warming potential technologies. Subsection A, report by the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel. Paragraph 154 is to be completed. Subsection B, illegal import of certain refrigeration and air conditioning and heat pump products and equipment. Paragraph 155 is to be completed. Section 7, identification of gaps in the global coverage of atmospheric monitoring of controlled substances and option for enhancing such monitoring. Subsection A, paragraph 156 is to be completed. Subsection B, report by the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel, paragraph 157 is to be completed. Section 8, Technology and Economic Assessment Panel 2023 report, including issue relating to subsection A, nomination for critical use exception for methyl bromine for 2024. Paragraph 158 is to be completed. Subsection B, ongoing emission of carbon tetrachloride. Paragraph 159 to be completed. Subsection C, quarantine and pre-shipment uses of methyl bromine for which alternatives are available. Paragraph 160 is to be completed. Subsection D, existing challenges and potential options for the future configuration and function of panel technical option committee. Paragraph 161 needs to be completed. Subsection E, panel membership changes. Paragraph 162 is to be completed. Subsection F, any other issues. Paragraph 163 is to be completed. We move to section 9, stock of methyl bromine. Argentina, please.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair, and our apologies for requesting the floor once again. Under 8F, it's a little bit difficult to identify exactly where we should send this, whether since the information is yet to be completed, this delegation will send the statement that it made under this particular section. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Delegate. Forward the test, it will be welcome to the Secretariat. Section 9, stocks of methyl bromide. Paragraph 164 is to be completed. Section 10, potential impact of the coronavirus disease, COVID-19 pandemic on hydrofluorocarbon consumption for Group 1 parties operating under Paragraph 1 of Article 5. Paragraph 165 is to be completed. Subsection A, hydrofluorocarbon consumption data reported by relevant Group 1 parties operating under Paragraph 1 of Article 5. Paragraph 166 is to be completed. Subsection B, proposed adjustment to the Montreal Protocol. Paragraph 167 is to be completed. Section 11, other matters. Paragraph 168 is to be completed. Section 12, adoption of the report of the meeting. Paragraph 169 to be completed. Section 13, closure of the meeting. Paragraph 170, paragraph 170 is to be completed. Now we go back to the annex. The annex contains 5 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 to 5. Are there any comment? Russian Federation, please.
Thank you so much, Co-Chair. Now, I'm going to refer only to Part 5. Now, from this summary, it's almost impossible to understand the thrust of our statement. But we don't want to launch discussions here. I'm merely going to touch on 2 very important points. Now, in our view, there is a need to, from the text in Part 2, to exclude the words "in his view." I didn't here state any of my own personal views, and of course my personal views are of no consequence whatsoever here to anyone. I sit here behind a nameplate that states quite clearly Russian Federation, and when I make a statement, I am the voice of the official position of the Russian Federation. It's not my point of view. So I believe that it is entirely obvious that these words, "in his view," are simply something that needs to be deleted. Now next, the second but last sentence, all the way through to the words "and that." Now, in our view, there is a need to delete this as well. Firstly, it's simply not clear what is being referred to here. And secondly, we didn't say this. We didn't say this in our statement. Quite the contrary. In reacting to a number of accusations, including in environmental aspects of these accusations, we noted, and this is something that needs to be included here, we noted that Ukraine, for years, or for more than a year now, has been shelling the Zaporozhye NPP with as an objective to create an environmental disaster in the region with consequences for the whole of Europe. This is something. This was a specific concrete statement that was made, and this statement was not reflected appropriately. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
We thank the honorable delegate from the Russian Federation. It's well noted, the comment are well noted, and the change also, it will be reflected in the report. Anyway, do you have a test to forward to the Secretariat also? Ukraine and Russia after.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I would like to comment on the statement of the aggressor state, Russia. Just the statement regarding the shelling of the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant are completely false. It is Russia who has plans to blow it up, as she did with the Kakhovka dam of the Kakhovka hydroelectric power plant. That is first thing. The second point is that the Russian Federation is aggressor state. There is ongoing aggression against my country. It has been confirmed by the international community in the resolutions of the General Assembly aggression against Ukraine of the 2nd of March 2022, and the latest resolution, Principles of the Charter of the United Nations underlying comprehensive, just and lasting peace in Ukraine of February 23, 2023. I would like to also to comment, we strongly object to the change of wording or meeting in his view, because it was just the statement of the representative of the aggressor state, Russia. Secondly, according to the mentioned resolution, we call upon the aggressor state to withdraw its forces from Ukraine and stop occupation of our country. Thank you so much.
We'd like to thank the distinguished delegate of Ukraine. And now we're going to give the floor to the Russian Federation. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. It was not my intention to launch any type of discussion. And my intention was to limit myself to purely editorial changes and corrections, based on the fact that what we need to do here is to reflect what was actually said and spoken in this room. But having heard the statement just made by the Ukrainian delegation, I am simply puzzled, like I'm sure a great many others here in this room. Now, the shelling of the Zaporozhye NPP is something which has been determined by an IAEA inspection. The director of the IAEA was not brave enough to say who did the shelling, but shelling there was. There are therefore two options. It's either the Ukrainian armed forces who are shelling the NPP from heavy artillery, or, as the Ukrainian delegation claims, the Russian armed forces. However, you need to bear in mind that this NPP has, for more than a year now, been on is on territory where the armed forces of the Russian Federation are present. Russian personnel is working at the NPP and would simply have to be deranged to claim that Russia wishes to destroy its own NPP, and in so doing, kill its own people and cause an environmental disaster on its own territory. This is simple insanity. It's nonsense. So the second option is the only possible one. There is shelling, and that shelling is one which is carried out by the Ukrainian side, and they simply don't want to talk about this. I would urge us to avoid further discussions on this, and I think it's entirely obvious, and I hope that everyone finds it so, that, well, firstly, this statement, in my view, this is something that needs to be deleted, as already explained why it needs to be deleted. And what we said in our statement, now does the delegation consider this, what we said, does the delegation consider this to be lies, yes or no? Well, this is of no interest to us. I will point out that I'm not looking at the summary of the statements made by Ukraine. And I can tell you, in our view, there's a lot there about genocide and 9 years of aggressive war and so forth. All of this is simple fabrications, just things that were imagined. The Ukrainian regime, for many years, engaged in civil war with its own population, that residing in the Donetsk and Lugansk republics. There was no Russia there. Russia wasn't present there for 9 years. But I'll underscore again, it is not my intention here to sit and change the text of a statement which was made. A statement was made? Yes, it was. We have no objections. Whether it's true or whether it's false, that's another matter. But people should also not start looking at our statement. We simply want what we said to be reflected in an appropriate way. Thank you.
Merci à l'honorable délégué.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the distinguished delegate of the Russian Federation. Allow the Secretariat to discuss this.
Nous remercions
We thank the parties for having granted us a few minutes to discuss the matter. Now, at this stage, we would like all the parties who made statements during the adoption of the agenda on the first day of our meeting, the 5 parties who made statements, we would like to ask them to send us their statements in writing. And what we are sent in writing is what will be annexed to this report, the report of the meeting. And that way, and we will include what has been sent to us in writing. So, again, we request the parties to allow us to move forward now.
l'Ukraine, s'il vous plaît.
Ukraine.
Actually, yes, thank you. I have requested before your consultations, and I had a proposal for, there's a small compromise as the delegate from the aggressor state, Russian Federation, mentioned that it was position of his leadership. So we can agree, instead of in his view, to mention that according to the position of the Russian authorities, whatever. So this is just a compromise that we can propose. Thank you.
Merci à l'honorable.
Thank you so much to the distinguished delegate of Ukraine. The Russian Federation, you have the floor. Thank you so much, Co-Chair. Now, your request to have us send in our statements in writing is something that we cannot fulfill, because what I was doing was I was responding to a statement that was made. And a great deal of what I said is not something I have in writing. No, please take the recordings. Use the recordings. We don't only have the video stream, but we have recordings of all of the statements. And based on those, you should be able to determine exactly what was said. Interpreters were present. The work was carried out. It was carried out well. And the Secretariat, it's your work. That's something that needs to be done, but all it will do is exacerbate the situation, because a great deal more was said than what we have now in this summary. The summary is quite straight, it's quite bare. A great deal has been left out. We certainly are not insisting that every word be reflected. But I believe that if all of us who spoke will in writing have to stand in our statements, and all of this is simply tossed into the annex, it won't stand to improve the situation. No, what it will do is exacerbate this dispute, and it will take us a great deal of time to figure out who is right and who is wrong and how we should write things. I would say let's not do this. Thank you.
Merci à l'honorable délégué
Thank
de Russie.
so much to the distinguished delegate of the Russian Federation. We would like to have a brief pause to consult amongst the members of the Secretariat, and we will revert to you in a few minutes.
Merci aux partis pour
Thank you so much to the parties for having afforded us a few minutes to engage in consultations. Now, returning to the pending issue, we are going to put the following proposal to you. We are going to look at the recordings, and we're simply going to transcribe what was said, and we'll annex it to the report. And that way, what we'll have in the annex will reflect exactly what was made in terms of statements.
de cet annexe-là. Donc,
So with that, the Russian Federation has requested the floor once again. You have the floor.
Мы не возражаем.
We don't object, sir.
merci beaucoup à l'honorable délégué.
Thank you to the distinguished delegate of the Russian Federation. We will move on towards the adoption of the report. UNEP 0ZL PRO WG 145 L1 Addendum 1.
Section 1, the 2022 quadrennial assessment of the Montreal Protocol. Any other issue? Very short live substances. Paragraph 1 to 8. China, please.
In the third paragraph of paragraph 1, we did not mention HFC 23 during our statement. To save the time, we will send our exact statement in English to the Secretariat for clarification. If it is agreed by the co-chair, we will just send the statement to the Secretariat.
Thank you, Honorable Delegate of China. It well noted. Forward the test, it will be considered. Any other comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 9 is to be completed. Section 2. Energy efficiency and low or zero global warming potential technologies. Subsection A. Report by the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel. Paragraphs 10 to 30. Paragraphs 10 to 30. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Subsection B, illegal import of certain refrigeration, air conditioning, and heat pump products and equipment. Paragraphs 31 to 38. Any comments? If there are none, then they are approved. We note that additional paragraph will be added to the end of this subsection B to capture the work done after the establishment of an informal group. Section 3, identification of gaps in the global coverage of atmospheric monitoring of controlled substances and options for enhancing such monitoring. Subsection A, report by the Secretariat, paragraphs 39 to 55. Any comments? If there are none, then they are approved. Paragraph 56 is to be completed. Subsection B, report by the Technology and Economic Assessment Panel. Paragraph 57 is to be completed. Section 4, Technology and Economic Assessment Panel 2023 report, including issues relating to subsection A, nomination for critical use exception for methyl bromine for 2024. Paragraph 28 is to be completed. Subsection B, ongoing emissions of carbon tetrachloride. Paragraph 59 is to be completed. Subsection C, quarantine and pre-shipment uses of methyl bromine for which alternatives are available. Paragraph 60 is to be completed. Subsection D, existing challenges and potential options for the future configuration and function of panel technical option committees. Paragraph 61 is to be completed. Subsection E, panel membership changes. Paragraph 62 is to be completed. Subsection F, any other issues? Paragraph 63 is to be completed. Section 5, stocks of methyl bromide. Paragraph 64 is to be completed. Section 6, potential impact of the coronavirus disease COVID-19 pandemic on hydrofluorocarbon consortium for Group 1 parties operating under Paragraph 1 of Article 5. Sub-item A, paragraph 65 to 67 are to be completed. Any comment? If there are none, then they are approved. Subsection B, propose adjustments to the Montreal Protocol, paragraph 68 to 73. China, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. On this section, we also believe that our intervention was not duly reflected. We talked about that during the pandemic, call services proved to be essential, both for food transportation and vaccine distribution. So we said afterwards that it was important to highlight that our country had not experienced a significant impact on HFC consumption. We believe this is not reflected in the actual L1 Add 1. We will send the intervention verbatim to the address provided. Thank you.
We thank the honorable delegate of Chile. The comments are well noted. They will be taken into account. Any other comment? If there are none, they are approved. Paragraph 74 is to be completed. Section 7, other matters. Paragraph 75 is to be completed. Section 8, adoption of the report of the meeting. Paragraph 76 is to be completed. Section 9, closure of the meeting. Paragraph 77 is to be completed. So we have come to the end of approving the meeting report as contained in document 45/L1 and document 45/L1 addendum 1. We thank all the parties for their contribution and for the hard work that have been provided. This brings us to the end of this meeting. We thank one more time all the delegates for their usual active and constructive engagement. We have made good progress on all the issues on the agenda, and I believe we are well on the way in our preparation for the 35th meeting of the party that will be held from 33rd to 37 October in Nairobi. Proceed to the MOP and workshop on energy efficiency will be held on 22nd October 2023. On behalf of my co-chair, Raf, and the Secretariat, we look forward to seeing you all in Nairobi. I now declare the meeting closed.